Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is a roaming prepper, and thank you once again for joining me. I'm playing around with a gimbal that I had bought a while ago, and I never actually used it. I used it for like a few months, and then I shelved it, and I forgot I had it. And I bought it secondhand from a neighbor, so I was kind of happy about that. But now I finally broke it out, recharged all the batteries, and now I'm kind of messing with it. So in any case, my video today is going to be about what exactly is going on with Poland and NATO. I mentioned some of it on a live stream on one of my Saturday live streams, but I wanted to go into more detail because I think a lot of people panicked. Is it concerning? Yes. Though the whole fact that one of the largest countries in the world has attacked the largest country in Europe, and they're having an ongoing fight now for almost a year, is a significant problem. I think the only reason this hasn't really escalated more is because we've got more modern communications than they did back in World War I. That still doesn't mean things can't escalate. But before we go down that pony road, let's talk about what the hell the articles are. So I'll be right back, and let's talk a little more about it just to gain some perspective as to what exactly we're looking at. Okay, gang, welcome back. I can't talk today. It's been one of those days, and I'm not used to holding the gimbal in my hand. So again, if my video looks a little weird, my apologies. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe. I thank you for joining me regardless. And if you have any questions, if I don't premiere this video, please put it in the chat below, and I'll try to answer the questions as best as I can. So anyway, question is, what exactly is going on with these articles, the NATO articles, right? A lot of people are like, Poland declared Article 4 and we'll have World War III. Well, World War III could still happen, right? Or any kind of conflict could happen. But that's not what the Article 4 is. So I'm going to back up and try and explain it instead of a very complicated terms. It's very simple. So the NATO treaty between all the nations that are involved in NATO, including Poland, is based on a series of articles that kind of define the way this governing body functions, right? So it's kind of like its constitution or its rules of order. Now, an Article 4 is actually not a wartime declaration. What it is essentially an incident has occurred that may need to be escalated, or it may be something else. And the question declaring the Article 4 emergency or situation has requested consultation with the partner nations. Now, every nation has designated delegates that serve on the NATO committees. I believe NATO's headquarters is in Belgium, which is a NATO member as well. So essentially, what's going on is the country in question says, hey, something has happened. In Poland's instance, I just had a rocket land on our country. It killed 2 people. But it was landed in the middle of nowhere. It hit like a farm or a warehouse, and we're not sure what to make of this. So all the assigned ambassadors, representatives then get to a council. This can be done in person. Typically it is, because they reside in Belgium, or it could in Brussels, or it can be done virtually as needed. These council members get together, they review information, and then they start to plot a course of action. In this case, Poland's like, I don't know what to make of this. Somebody dropped a rocket on me, but we don't want to overreact, which was a smart play by Poland. So NATO got together, engineers, scientists, military advisors, and other types went out to the location, picked up the debris, looked at where the rocket they think came from, how it landed, what happened, and they ascertained that it apparently was a Ukrainian rocket that had gone errant and landed in Poland. And it was an anti-aircraft missile. I believe it was an S-300. So as such, the determination was this was not a deliberate act by any party. It was a fog of war or an inadvertent incident where a rocket had gone astray and landed in the wrong place. Now, that being said, they also stated that the only reason that rocket was in the air is because Russia attacked Ukraine for no reason, or at least an unnecessary reason, and therefore, if it wasn't for that, there wouldn't be rockets flying back and forth regardless. So that was the determination. Now, an Article 5 would be different. Article 5, since NATO was chartered early in the Cold War, right after World War II, the only time Article 5 has actually been declared by any of the members was actually by the biggest member, the United States, and it was declared because of 9/11, because basically, and at the time, some entity went and attacked New York City and basically killed 3,000 people and destroyed a bunch of buildings. Now, we can go down all sorts of conspiracy holes about who actually was behind what. I think at the very least, what happened that day was funded by other parties besides Al-Qaeda. How you want to follow the rabbit trails, totally different conversation. And that we should do a conspiracy night for that. But let's just assume an entity went and attacked the U.S. They declared Article 5, because at the time they didn't know what the hell happened other than a bunch of people are now dead and airplanes were crashing into shit. So that's the only time in the 60 plus years or more that NATO has been an active organization that Article 5 has actually been declared by any of the parties. And it was by, ironically, the United States, the one who set up organizing the entire affair. Now, what would cause an Article 5 to be declared? Well, that is a much higher bar. So the way, if I'm understanding the way it works, is if a nation gets attacked, and it's a blatant attack, then they will request an Article 5 hearing and present evidence as to why they think they are under attack. In this case, let's say, hypothetically, for example, I'm trying to figure a scenario. Russia decides, you know what, Poland, you're giving too much assistance to Ukraine, and it's out of this air base by the border, so we're going to rocket the shit out of that base. And it's not one errant missile happens to land in a cornfield or in a farm area. It's a focused, concentrated attack on one of the members of NATO. That would constitute grounds to request an Article 5. Now, that does not preclude the country that is under attack from defending themselves. So hypothetically, if Russia attacked Poland, Poland will immediately start to defend themselves. Any NATO units in the country, if they come under attack, will defend themselves as well in conjunction with Poland, while the hearings go on in Brussels to determine the course of action and whether it needs to be negotiated over the phone to diplomatically resolve, or if an escalation in the field is needed. So that was the difference, or that's essentially, in a very simplistic way, the difference between Article 4 and Article 5 of NATO. Now, the big concern for me, and I've expressed it before, is the fog of war. You have a young commander in Russia or Ukraine, somebody, one of the players. Right now we've got Chechnya, Kazakhstan, Russia, Belarus, Ukraine, all fighting and involved with each other. Of course, you have Poland trying to help Ukraine. You have Lithuania, Estonia, and Latvia are under arms now because they're afraid the Russians might roll into them, even though Russia seems to be reorganizing. Somebody might make a mistake, or someone perceives something as a threat that really isn't. A good example, in the Black Sea or the Sea of Azov or even the North Sea or whatever, a Russian frigate gets approached by a submarine, it gets approached by another destroyer, and they perceive it to be a threat and they open fire on this other vessel, and it turns out to not be a threat. It turns out to be a third party, say a British, a Canadian, an American ship. That would very quickly escalate. That's something that concerns me. If a Russian commander in the field thinks he's going to be overrun and tells, his artillery commander, well, Dmitry, go grab one of those red shells over there and go pop it over on those guys. And it turns out he pops a tactical nuke, whether deliberately or inadvertently, on another party. That could result in an Article 5, even if it doesn't hit a NATO country. If it lands in Ukraine or if it lands on a third-party country, it could escalate to a NATO situation. So that's the big fear for me, is when you have this many entities, this much ordnance, this many aircraft, this many troops all over Eastern Europe fighting with each other in what is right now a limited conflict, and it spills over. The rocket dropping on Poland is a good example. Imagine if that had actually hit a school or it had hit a military base. You would have Polish fighter planes in the air immediately. They would have seen Russian planes in the air, and you probably would have had a dogfight break out in the middle of the night on the Polish border. And Poland is not a fan of Russia, and vice versa. They have a very ancient dislike for one another, and so that would end rather badly. So folks, again, hypotheticals aside, that's the difference between Article 4 and Article 5. Article 4 is really a consult. Something has happened, but we cannot ascertain what has happened. We need more information. We need support to determine if we need to take further steps. Article 5 would be a case of, we're blatantly in trouble. Something has just happened, and we would like to request help. Let's begin consults to get your troops here. Big difference between 4 and 5, and hopefully we never go to 5, because that would be quite catastrophic for everyone. If you think COVID and the supply chain and the deaths were bad, then I promise you this kind of war, modern war with large powers, there won't be a country in the world that's not going to get affected, and many of them will get affected directly, and hopefully that doesn't happen. But again, Article 4 is not a reason to panic. It is a reason to be vigilant. It's a reason to be concerned, but it's not a reason to freak out. So anyway, I hope that helps, and I hope that gives some clarity to what exactly is going on. So that'll be it for this one, folks. Again, don't forget to like and subscribe. If you have any further questions, throw them in the comments below. And other than that, continue to prep, continue to pray, continue to be focused. Godspeed if you're on the road, and I will see you on the next video. Take care.